So this is every movie I watched in May. First I watched We're All Going to the World's Fair at probably my favorite theater. So this is about a girl who does an online horror challenge and then vlogs her side effects from doing that challenge, making it a great addition to the internet bad filmography. It deals with the darker side of the web and these people who are alone in real life finding connection online. But like, is it real connection? Should they even be connecting? And are the side effects of the challenge real or just for views? Watch it and find out. Then I watched The Northmen. You've probably heard a lot about this already. It's a familiar tale of betrayal and revenge, but told in a new, unique way, and with Vikings. Why hasn't there been more Viking movies? Of all the violent old fellas, I feel like Vikings are some of the most compelling. But this is a rare, blockbuster budgeted movie where the artist was still allowed creative freedom. Like, you can still see Robert Eggers' style, but it's a huge action film. Then I saw Mississippi Masala at the Belcourt Theater in Nashville. I knew like nothing about this going in, but it's about a family who was kicked out of Uganda, and 20 years later they're living in Mississippi. It examines the prejudices and cultural differences they deal with in both of these locations. And then the daughter of the family falls in love with Denzel. It deals with topics of race, cultural differences, and home in an intelligent and thought-provoking way, and also just happens to be one of the best romances I think I've ever seen. My only critique is there's so much going on that it's hard to fully connect with one of the plots. There's the father attempting to get his property back from the government of Uganda, the whole historical Uganda backstory, the examination of cultures within a larger culture, and the romance. But yeah, great movie. Next, I watched Hour of the Wolf, which is marketed as Ingmar Bergman's only horror film, and I'm not entirely sure why. Well, there's this one scene with Max von Sydow in clown makeup, and there's this guy walking on the ceiling, and it deals with his usual themes of struggling with relationships, struggling with faith, struggling with purpose and meaning, and adds struggling with being an artist. So all that's always scary. But in terms of straight terror, I'm putting it at about 4th. But yeah, no one does 90-minute black and white existential films better than Ingmar. Then I watched Petite Mammal. This is Celine Sciamma's newest movie where an 8-year-old girl meets an 8-year-old version of her mother. And they kind of just hang out for a little while. Build a fort, talk, bake together. It never explains how or why there's a young version of her mother, but I really don't think it has to. It captures the curiosity and creativity of childhood so well, and that feeling is more of the point. It reminded me of my own childhood a bit. I used to tell my aunt I wished she was my age, and this movie is a lot like that, except with much better wardrobe and French. Then I watched 3 films by Todd Solondz: Welcome to the Dollhouse, Storytelling, and Dark Horse. Todd is definitely one of those directors who has a distinct style, and it is dark. This is a dark look at middle school growing up and family. This is a dark commentary on art, and just a dark look at about every uncomfortable subject you could think of. And this is a dark look at a single guy in his 30s who lives with his parents and collects toys. But there's something that feels super authentic about the worlds and characters of Todd Solondz. Like, every one of his characters are flawed in some way. The protagonist is messed up, the antagonist is messed up, the parents and siblings are messed up, the peers are messed up, the authority figures are messed up, and so on. And somehow this works for me. Except in this one. I could barely empathize with the main guy in this, and it was hard to engage in the story. Summerson felt a bit restrained, like it was holding something back, especially after seeing his others, which I'd say do not hold back at all. So here's my ranking of the 3.
So welcome to the dollhouse. Welcome to the doll.
Next, I watched David Lynch's Inland Empire, and whoa. It was the hottest day of the year in Chicago, and the air was out in the theater I went to, so I sat there sweating for 3 hours, just as David Lynch intended. I was actually following the first 45 minutes or so, but after that, no clue what this was about. Just hints of commentary on the film industry and celebrity culture. It's a lot like Mulholland Drive, but longer and even harder to understand. It was super surreal and stays with you like the memory of a strange dream. Definitely one of the more unique theater experiences I've ever had. Then I saw Cha-Cha Real Smooth at the opening night of the Chicago Critics Film Festival, followed by a Q&A with writer, director, producer, star Cooper Raiff. Essentially, it's about a guy who doesn't know what to do after college. He gets a job as a party starter and becomes friends with a mom and her daughter who has autism. He kind of falls in love with the mom, and I won't give anything else away. This was so enjoyable in a packed theater. There's a ton of generally funny one-liners and also some really endearing moments. And the audience reactions just made it better. It for some reason didn't stick with me like I thought it would, but definitely still a fun watch, and I didn't realize Cooper Raiff is only 25 and has already made 2 movies. After the film, a horde of 18 to 24-year-old guys rushed the mic, and the Q&A went something like this.
Hi Cooper, first off, loved the film. What advice would you give to young aspiring filmmakers?
Cooper, can I be you? Like, I want to be you. I wish I were you. Can we switch bodies like Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis in the 2003 Disney remake of Freaky Friday, but like, not switch back? Please, Cooper?
But yeah, check this out. It comes out on everyone's favorite streaming service in a couple weeks. Then I watched Certified Copy. I'm a big fan of Kiarostami. He's made 2 of my favorite movies ever, but I think this one just went over my head. There were some interesting philosophical points, and I'm sure it had something deep to say about art and relationships, but I just didn't really get it. It still has some Kiarostami signatures. There's a long driving scene, a well-written argument, some great-looking wides. Also love how he framed the subjects in some of these shots. But this one just stands out in his filmography. It's not in his native language or country, and just seemed overall unlike his usual style. Then I watched Men, the new A24 Alex Garland horror film. And not a lot to say. I think it works pretty well as just a horror movie. There's a very atmospheric, eerie feeling at points, a well-done home invasion scene, and then some weird body horror type thing at the end. But if you're looking for a deeper commentary, this isn't it. Diving deep into Garland's first movie, it dealt with free will, what makes someone human, and the limits of AI. If you try to look deeper into this one, you get the striking revelation, men bad. Maybe every A24 horror doesn't always have to be some type of psychological metaphor. Then I watched Boy. Didn't realize I watched Men and Boy back to back until I logged them, but here we are. I've wanted to catch up on Taika Waititi's older work for a while, and this was a great intro. It's kind of a different type of coming-of-age tale, where a boy idolizes his absent father, and when his father finally returns, the boy comes to the eventual realization that his father is flawed and is more of a slacker criminal than the hero that he had in mind. If this sounds super serious, it wasn't, like, at all. It's told in such a lighthearted, goofy way, which I guess should be expected from this guy. But each character had these fun little quirks about them that became recurring gags throughout the film. The main character, named Boy, loved Michael Jackson. His little brother Rocky draws and thinks he has superpowers, and maybe he does. And there's a goat named Leaf. This was 100% my sense of humor, just goofy indie quirk. Check this out. Then I watched John Frankenheimer's Seconds. I knew nothing about this going in, just found a cheap, used Criterion, so had to pick it up. This is definitely a film that needs a rewatch to unpack everything. The basic premise is an older, somewhat unhappy guy living a monotonous life is chosen by a company to be born again. They perform surgery to make him look like Rock Hudson and give him a new life with his dream career. And I won't give any more away. This works as just a sci-fi thriller, but there's plenty of spiritual and philosophical aspects below the surface. And it's not just the plot, it's shot and edited in such an experimental way, and the opening credits scene is one of the most interesting I've ever seen. Then I watched Ali, Fear Eats the Soul. I've been intrigued with Rainer Werner Fassbender's life for a while, but this is the first time I've actually watched one of his films. He made 40-some films in only 16 years before his death at age 37. This film specifically was shot in only 14 days and in between 2 bigger projects, but this ended up being maybe his most well-known. It's a great, simple love story about 2 people who are very different on the surface, who meet at a bar and fall in love. It looks at the prejudices and judgment from people around them and then shifts to recognizing their personal differences and preferences within their relationship. I love well-done minimalism and melodrama, and this is just that. And look at this green, yellow, brown color palette. Then I watched The Man Who Wasn't There, and now have only one film left on my journey through the Cohenography. This is essentially about a barber who tries to invest in dry cleaning, and in typical noir fashion, things don't go as planned. Throughout the movie, the barber kind of drifts through life while things happen around him and to him. It's a slower movie and not super heavy on plot, but has the usual cast full of intriguing characters you can expect from a Cohen film. and honestly had no idea this was in black and white till it started, but was pleasantly surprised. And it's not just any black and white, it's Roger Deakins' Academy Award nominated black and white. And to conclude this month, I watched Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick, like probably everyone else. Watching Top Gun was like a rite of passage to be able to hang out with my parents. They let me sit with them at the new one, but only if I'd seen the original first. The beginning was edited like this with that 180 song playing over it. Definitely entertaining, flying was great. A little taken out after the death of a major character. I felt like I knew exactly what was going to happen for the rest of the movie. So a little predictable, but still fun. The new one is the most summer blockbuster I've ever seen. It really seems like an actual continuation of the original, like a real part 2 rather than just a money grab, sequel, reboot thing. I like the original more after this one. It adds to the entire story. Tom Cruise is the last movie star, has more great flying, yeah, super entertaining. So that was every movie I watched in May. Here's a favorite and a least favorite.